Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. So I am joined by Aries, who is joining me for this career Q&A session, which is part of the Reed's Women in Technology Mentoring Program. Aries is going to share with us a background of her career path, discussion around some of the challenges that she's faced along the way, how she's overcome them, but hopefully also how she works with other technology professionals and in her current role. So Aries, do you want to fire away and let the guys know a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Kevin, for having me here today. So, I think I've said that I'm from Singapore. So I came from a banking background for over 2 decades, across investment and private wealth. And I've worked mainly in Singapore and UK, London, and then to the south in the year of 2000. There was a big merger in JP Morgan and Chase. So I moved down to south as well. I'm currently in North Wales. So I end my banking career in 2018 and moved from there into coaching. Um, Very different. I can tell there's like day and night, black and white. So that is the difference. But I do have to say that during my time in the banking world, I do a lot of diversity work under gender diversity. And so that have actually helped me to do a lot of exploring in mentoring and supporting in others. So it's kind of extension of what's close to my heart, but it just need a lot of that courage to step out to do something that's totally outside the comfort zone, I have to say. Um, what am I going to say?
That's good.
Since I'm
So if we focus on the first career you had when you worked in transformation in banking, um, prior to that, your degree was in accounting and finance. So
Mm,
how did you go from what is on paper, a very numerical, analytical type career into something which was a bit more people focused and transformation based? How did you make that decision?
that's a great question. Okay. Um, I don't believe that you change yourself from that who you are fundamentally. Is you come to recognize who you are fundamentally as in deep inside yourself, who you really are. Um, I can't speak for the West, but I have worked in the West for a while. But I will speak more from my time. Sorry, that's quite a long time ago. I think during my time in the 1980s and 1990s time, for us, our what we studies has a lot to do with whether we can get a good job and there's a good income. A lot of that come from, if you're going to do something and you can't get a job, what are you going to do it for? So it's like you have to make sure that your whatever you paid for, there is investment in return. So naturally, most people will go to study a degree that ultimately you can get a job in that sense. So, and then what I want to do after that? Of course, I go into banking. So I went into banking. So it's a lot about that income, that stability, what I can see out there. I think that's what a lot of us do in that sense. And I think especially in what I'm doing now as a coach, the conversation I have most days are some people say, you know what, I don't have this kind of conversation with anybody else. I say, yeah, I'm sure you don't, because it's a pretty unique conversation that you have, because the conversation is only on one person, which is your coachee, and it's all about the person. And your role is really to just help them to know what's going on so they know what they can move forward from where they are. And when I say I don't believe that you change in the inside, it's about recognizing who you are and embrace who you are and step into who you are. So moving out from banking into coaching is quite scary, because I have to say banking is very comfortable in terms of financial stability. Um, Anyone working in the bank, well, or financial industry know that we are paid pretty well, especially if you're in the front office. I'm not in the front office. I'm in the support line where I do operational finance, project management, so-called moving a little bit to the tech space. But we are all still paid well in terms of banking. So moving out from that comfort zone to something totally on your own is very, very scary. And you have to be very sure that's what you want to do. And I think that comes back to a lot of knowing who you are and what you want to do with your life, a lot of your personality, a lot on your strength, a lot on your purpose and meaning in life. Yeah.
Yeah. You've done some sessions for us in the past on this topic, and I know it's quite a big one to cover, but a lot of these conversations are about people's career choices and how they've got to where they are. I think you've got a unique perspective that you work with lots of individuals and help them identify that purpose in life and almost bring work into that conversation really and say, how can you utilize your career to achieve those things you want to achieve? What would you say is the best way to begin kind of exploring what is meaningful and important to you?
From which state? Sorry, what I'm saying is, I would say most people don't know what we want, but we know what we don't want. Yeah. And I just had this recent conversation with one client. He said he's lucky that he went into something that he likes to do. But when he asked his son is 60, what do you want to do? The son said, don't know, but I know I don't want to be a doctor. I said, great. I said, this is actually quite common. So your son is not exception. Even for me, it took a very long time. Only in my 40s, I kind of discover what I want to do. So, I mean, the first starting point is, I think if any of the career coach, they normally give you some sort of psychometric test to help you to assess where your inclination is. That is what you are passionate about, what's your energy, where you like doing. So I think that will give you a general view on where you're inclined to do. You see, the thing is, in this world where we are in, a lot of things come from you need to do, you should do. If you don't do, you feel guilty. If you don't do, you feel bad. Everything's around that you should, you must, you better. It's not about, is it really right to me? Is it really aligned who I am? Is this what I want to do? So it's kind of difficult to ask that question when we are not brought up to know what we want, but it's about what society say what we should do. So one of those things you should do is that really to be true to yourself, to be honest with the answer. I'm not saying that, oh, you do one test, you find everything, and then you have that smooth that career path. There's a lot of things. Human is quite complex. There's a lot of to us. One is that your interest, your passion, the energy, what you are good in. Another part is what is really important to you, what is that core to you, your value to you. And then, of course, that all come together, and then you can holistically find what you want to do. Yeah. But understand that it's not just what you do, it's behind what you do. You see,
Yeah.
I give you one example. I can't remember where I read it. I thought it was very interesting. They were interviewed 3 person working in a hospital. I can't remember exactly what is a job, but something about cleaning, but they all give different answer. One person say, oh, it's just a cleaning job, so I can pay my bill. And another person say, well, this is a job that I bring a lot of joy to people, because imagine you walk to the hospital, they smell nice and clean nice. Would that be nice rather than the dirty hospital? Yes, of course. So it's the perspective that you bring in as well, that what is that meaning and purpose that you're doing? And we have to see that meaning and purpose in whatever we are doing. And if you don't see that, I think you're going to be miserable in what you're doing. But again, that align to who you are. If it doesn't align, then you probably could be quite challenging to see the purpose and the meaning. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure a lot of people resonate with both things you said there. So in terms of where you started your career, it was very much a sense of taking the next step, doing the next thing that you're supposed to do on that journey. So you've been academically good, so you've gone to university, you finish university, you go into a job that you know is stable and is going to pay well. And it took you quite a while, I guess, to move out of 20 years working in banking. So at what point during that 20 years did you decide that there might be a different type of life for you and a different type of career?
Oh, wow.
Did you wake up one day realizing, or was it slowly build up over time, or was it the external influences, coaches that you had that helped bring that out of you?
I think there's a lot of multiple factors. Number one is, if what you are doing is not aligned to who you are, there's always an inclination there. That means something is always thinking, is this what I should be doing? But of course, I must say, in your 20s, we all seek to make more money, to have the next title, next goal and promotion. So that's quite true for most people, unless you are particularly really into searching your purpose and meaning, right? So we're all in that. And then come to a certain point, maybe 30s and 40s, you start thinking about, is this what I really want to do? And then more question will be asked. And then you have to look back to your own situation. If I leave my job, can I leave my job and do something that pay me less? That's all the questions will come. So there's the very practical questions that if you look at a very old theory called the Maslow hierarchy of needs. They talk about basic psychological needs that we all need to be fulfilled, but everybody, how much we fulfill that needs will depends on your individual, how much that means to you, right? If I live in a small house, that's good enough. But another person is like, no, I need a 10 cars. I need to have a house that's big, 10 rooms. So everyone is different to fulfill that needs. But that needs will kind of evolve, and then you eventually will need to seek the meaning that we have. So for me, I have to say that that question is always at the back of my mind and pondering, is this what I want to do? But if I don't do this, can I do something else? What do I want to do? And then if I leave, can I survive? I'm a single mom, so that was a lot of that question marks around there. I think finally it's a big question. What made me have that final courage and big jump? I have a major life, like most people, I have a major life crisis. So that made me look at life a little bit differently. And I asked myself if I don't do it, what do I mean? Do I want to continue doing? I need to live a life. I think that the answer I gave myself was I need to live a life that is impactful and is meaningful. I need to do it not just for others, but more for myself. I think if you look at my profile in more details, you will see that that is a big turning point that I need to make a change. So no longer is that, it's not a sudden change, but is that courage that I got to move away from that comfort into something that what holds true for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think there'll be some people watching this back that obviously interested in careers in transformation and careers in finance, and others that'll be interested in making that move into a different type of career, be that coaching or something else. In terms of the skills that you possess as an individual, do you find that you're utilizing the same toolkit in both careers, or were there certain skills that were really important to you in the transformation finance career that are less important now, and others that are more important as you progressed into coaching and helping people?
Sorry, what was the question?
What do you find are the most important skills in each role, and are they the same toolkit, or are the two different toolkits that you're having to utilize in the different parts of your career?
Okay, in any jobs that we do, we need a hard skill. Okay, so depend what jobs you do, the hard skill you need. But in every job, you need a soft skill. So the soft skill is transferable. So the soft skill will be things like communication is one big skill, right? And it's very, very wide. And things like if you are in presence, for example, what we're doing now, you're asking me questions. We are not all know how to ask questions. It's your job kind of train you to have the ability to kind of realize how to ask questions. To be a good leader, you're not born a leader today. You learn how to be a good leader. And what does that leader mean? Leader is not about me, it's about you, but how do I grow you to help you to develop? And to do that, what do I need to do? So all the things, the thoughts that you do need to have. So is instead of telling you what to do, oh, now you're going to do this because I've done it, I know better. But we know that as a leader, we do not necessarily need to have all the skill that you have, but able to help you to grow. So using the questions technique is one of them. Using the ownership to trust to help them to develop and grow, to understand where they're coming from. So that's what we do as a leader. So all these soft skill is transferable, whether you are a coach or you are a leader today. I think as in any corporates these days, I'm seeing a big direction of people are going into coaching training, not as a professional coach, but to supplement their soft skill as a better leader because it brings a lot of awareness to themselves, how they're showing up, especially when you say I'm a leader. What does a leader mean, right? Because in the old days, leader means that, okay, I'm the boss, I tell you, and that's it. But now we know that is not the way, and that doesn't work anymore. When we tell somebody, we are actually taking their autonomy away. And autonomy is what we all want. And when we give them the autonomy, we actually empower them. And end of the day, they produce a better work and they're happier. And yeah, and we have a better team.
Yeah. I think it's obvious, people, that hard skills you can train and you can learn. Do you feel that you can develop those? Well, I hate the phrase softer skills, but those interpersonal skills, do you think that they are things that are inherent within you as a person and it's developed over a lifetime, or do you think that you can learn to be a better communicator, more empathetic, and all those kind of things?
Of course, we can learn those soft skills, and I'm a living proof of learning the soft skill. By personality traits, I'm a very hyper restless person. Yeah, but as a coach, you are there. I don't think people want to have a conversation with you. Are you listening to me? So, but ultimately, is if that's what close to your heart and that's who you are and want to be, you can pick up the skill. That's why you're saying that when you do that, it's not about being a fake you, but understanding is about adapting and development. And when you adapt, that is because that's what you want to build up. It's like a strength, right? Strength is all what we can develop. It's not saying that I'm asking you to be somebody who you're not, but asking you to learn to be better. I'm asking you to be a better listener. Does not mean that that's not you. Yeah, but we
Yeah.
can
So
all.
for you, exploring coaching was one of the ways that you developed that toolkit. Are there any other things that you would advise people to do if they are trying to, let's say they're in a very technical role and they're naturally going for a tech career because they love technology, but now they realize that tech is actually all about people and they're having to be much more customer facing and utilize those communication skills. What are the ways that people can adapt and pick up those softer skills?
You raise a very good point about people in the tech space and still people. So unless you do a job that you don't see anyone, you don't interact, the only thing that interact is just that laptop just right in front of you, and that's it.
Yeah.
So one of the thing I find that every one of us, every single one, even myself, is about learning how to listen. Even a good leader, fundamental good skill of a leader is listening. It's only through listening we know what's going on the ground. It's only through listening we know we really understand and hear. So listening comes before thing, even in a good communication. What is a good communication actually? Oh, I present myself very well. I'm speaking very well. No, it's about understanding what the people want, what does the audience like, and that to get that is also listening, and that's something I believe all of us can learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Greg has a question. It's
yeah.
probably quicker for Greg to read it than it is to speak it than it is for me to read it. So do you want to ask the question, Greg?
Certainly. Thanks, Kevin. Aries, you mentioned that most people don't know what they want, but they're very clear on what they don't want. If I just point that more to you for a second and your change of career, after you changed from banking to coaching, how long did it take you to feel a definite sense of clarity and satisfaction from your new direction?
I'm not sure whether I fully get the questions because I'm very deliberate in what I do for a very personal reason, which I'm not sure is a good place to mention. That was the big change in my life because my elder sons passed away very suddenly in 2017, which made that big change in my life, where I start to see life in a very different perspective. And which is why I say there's a lot of that courage. And I see that especially if there's something major happen in your life, like if you just experience cancer, if somebody that's very, very close to you, your parents, your best friends, your sibling, whoever, somebody that's very close to you and just suddenly pass away, especially suddenly, your life is thrown upside down. You start questioning what about life, and that will trigger a lot of thoughts. Okay, so that's one aspect. Things that you are hesitant to do, you realize that you need to know, because you need to do, because you realize that how long we live on this world is not based on, well, when I grow old, when I'm sick, then maybe I'll die. It's not like that. It can happen to anyone at any time, whether you're sick, you're well. And sorry, that's what my experience is. And back to your question, that clarity. After I started my coaching training, the clarity gets clearer along the way, because I do a lot of understanding about, you talk about what is your priority, and you start questioning yourself, you started doing a lot of reflections, you started asking what's important to yourself. I do a lot of deep work about on the core value. You understand about your subconscious mind, you understand a lot of things, what's happening, why it happened to you. So I'm not sure whether I fully answer your questions, but it's not going to be like, okay, done. That is getting to know ourselves, I would say, is a journey of courage. You have to be willing, and you have to be honest with yourself, not with anyone else, just yourself. Yeah.
In
Because
terms of the other individuals that you've worked with as a coach, I assume some of them have made career transitions during the time that you've worked with them. If that is the case, do you tend to see that there is an instant feeling of they are better suited to that new career, or does sometimes it take time to bed in and they have their reservations about whether they might made the right move or not to start with?
I have, because a lot of the client that I'm seeing now is coming from the organization. So of course there was that questions about whether they want to change their role, change their job, rather than have a major change. Well, I have one that was talking about big change, but it's really knowing, like I said, that is this about who am I, the core, and about the shining objects over there. We are all attracted by shining objects. And there's lots of shiny objects sometimes. And the grass always look greener on the other side. So it's about being clear on who you are, who you want to be, because the job is part of us, not we part of the job. Be clear on why you want to move to the next job. I mean, I'm not saying that you going for the money is wrong. If that's what you want to go for, be clear on that and then go for it, so that when you're there, you're happy where you are.
Yeah.
So you need
That
to be
makes sense.
clear, the push and the pull factor.
Yeah. What are the other factors? So, away from like career transition and things, what are the other main common themes that you see people coming to you looking for support with?
Communication is a big thing. I'm summarizing communication as in,
Yeah.
they want to negotiate with their salary. So how do you negotiate salary? They find it's very challenging. A lot of people have this. It's like they are very good in whatever their job is. They can go to a case. They face difficult client. They can deal with it. Anything that do the work, they are all right. But when it come to themselves, they find it's very difficult to articulate the good things, the achievement they do. Yeah, it's like I can talk about my work, I can advocate for another person, but I just can't advocate for myself. That's that.
Yeah, it's very common. But I think people don't like to boast and brag about their own achievements.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I can resonate, because I realize I have a lot of those too. So yeah, we are not
Interesting.
perfect being. Yeah, it's only knowing those little things that is happening to us, and what does that mean, and what do we want to do about it, and does it affect us or it doesn't affect us. So it's not that I have to do everything, but it's really is what is most important, and what do I want to do with my life.
Yeah. And do you find that any of these things that your coaches are looking sort of disproportionately affect women, or do you get male and females coming to you with the same kind of challenges?
I used to think that it's I used to think it's a lot of this challenge are women. Sometimes men can have similar challenges. Well, I'm having lots more guys client now, but I find that there is a little bit of the tendency, the women to have some sort of that confidence challenges more than men in general. Maybe I feel that I'm just generalizing a little bit. It's not everyone is like that. Again, you have to go back to your own personality. Men is more factual. They look at things and then say, I need to do this done. But women will look, oh, am I good enough to do that? They will start questioning and things like that. So maybe because of that factors, it bring a bit of that so-called confidence into the scenario, the situation itself. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm going to give people that have joined the call today, as well as Greg, the opportunity to ask any questions if they've got any. So if you want to use the chat to do that, or come off mute, you're welcome to. I'll give you a couple of minutes while Aries answers my next question. So we obviously don't have time to delve into the solutions to all those things we spoke about in terms of confidence and personal brand and self-advocacy and all those kind of things. We hopefully will have follow-up conversations with yourself and other speakers that can cover some of those topics. But if any individuals want to connect with you, Aries, to get some support and guidance on those things, what's the best way to do that?
Well, they can link up with me on LinkedIn. They can go to my website, whichever they prefer. Yeah.
Do you want to tell us your web address? I'll make sure it's included in any comms, but
Should I just put it on the chat?
people that watch the recording might not be able to see the chat. So if it's easy enough to give them a name, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. It's easy. So my website is just www.ariesyo.com. So it's ARIESYEO.com. So it's quite easy. So I'm also in LinkedIn, so you can also connect me in LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah. And for people that have never had a coach, what does that process normally look like? And is it standard from one coach to another? How much commitment does it take? What, how much time do they have to invest? What's the kind of framework that you deliver through?
I think if anybody who's looking for a coach, the first thing is have a initial conversation, right? Look at a few to kind of, oh yeah, this profile kind of agree with me. So find a few couple of profiles that agree and have a chat with them. So the chat, they call it, some people call it discovery, some call it intake sessions. Is actually for you to assess that this is a coach I want to work with. And it's also for the coach to assess that whatever you're presenting, am I the right person to work with you? So, but if you don't really know what's coaching, normally the coach will have some information. Ask them, I'm new. Can you just tell me what does coaching do? How does it format like? They can always just send you. So I do have, I think 1 page or 2 page that I explain a little bit about what's coaching all about. But I'd like to give this phrase, maybe it's easy to remember rather than read through 2 pages. Is coaching, I like to say that it's like, maybe you're on this dark road, a road that you're familiar with, but because it's dark, you don't really know how to walk about. So the coach is not telling you exactly where to go and how to go, but the coach is the light that's given to you, and through the light, you know where to go and how to go.
Yeah, excellent. Greg, you're about to start typing there, mate. Do you want anything to final words?
Yeah, so first of all, Aries, thank you for sharing. It was obviously a deeply personal journey that took you here, and really grateful for sharing your story. Last question from me is just drawing on your diversity work from the banking sector. How optimistic are you about seeing positive diversity change in organizations now?
Organization as in globally, generally?
Just your general impression.
I think there's a lot of development now in diversity as a whole. I know like in Singapore now, they put DEI under ESG. So, and government's also putting that as a compulsory measure if you're a listed company. So a lot of that measures put in terms of that diversity work, because we are seeing that we are all individual. There's no way we can be the same. So if you don't recognize diversity, that means that whatever you want to do in the organization, there will be a cap. And which is why I think as a whole, to be very blunt, organization, especially profit organization, they want to recognize diversity, even though it's so much challenging. Because if I'm different from you, whatever you say, I was like, huh? What are you saying? I don't understand what you're saying. So it's more likely to have conflict. But yet organization wants to embrace it, is because through diversity, then we can actually increase the organization performance. If not, there will come a ceiling, because we all think alike. That means we'll all be in that same box, or whichever box you're in, we'll all be in that box. But only when it's different, then we can be jump out of the box. Or maybe you don't have to be in a box. It could be a circle or whatever that is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Maybe that does that answer your question?
That's a good answer. Thanks, Aries.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, we've reached time, so yeah, all we can do is thank you, Aries, for coming along, as Greg said, for sharing obviously a very deeply personal journey. We're very grateful for your time. I'm sure that we'll get some interaction after this session from people watching the recording that want to learn more about dealing with some of those challenges that we spoke about. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. Have a great rest of the week. That goes to all you guys that have tuned in as well, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aries. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Bye.